Hello, fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today with this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, W-I-P, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever you are working on and work alongside while I chat. Or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast, which, if you happen to be on YouTube podcasts, you can find all of my WIP and Chats there. So check those out. They're still available as videos, but you can also listen to them just as podcasts if that is your preference. Today, I'm going to be working on my Daffy Duck by Diamond Art Club. As you can see, it's going pretty quickly. I'm super happy with how it's turning out so far. So I'm going to move everything around a bit, zoom in to the section where I'm going to be working, and then I will start chatting and sharing with you all of the goings on in my regular and diamond painting life. It may be a bit of a ramble today. I have so many things flying around in my brain. I hope it all makes sense. I don't know how long this one is going to be either. It may be a little bit shorter than my usual WIP and Chats, but we'll see. This is one of those days where I'm not really sure what's going to fall out of my mouth while I'm filming, so let's find out. I'm going to zoom in and get everything set up so I can work, and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, let me just jump in and start with my life update. Well, I don't know if you guys remember. I think I mentioned in a previous video that my husband had an abscess tooth that he had to have fixed. So thankfully that has now been fixed and he's all better and good to go. He went and had all that work done, and then he still has to go back for one more appointment, and then I think he's done with the dentist for this year. I hope, anyway. He got the abscess tooth fixed, and then he decided that he was just going to take the rest of the week off. So he's been off since Wednesday, which is fine, but now all of my days of the week are all screwed up because he's been home basically all week, and we got groceries on a different day than normal, and we did other errands on a different day than normal, and yeah, it's just been kind of crazy. So, and I admittedly have a lot on my mind. Yeah, so it's just been a lot crazier than normal around here. It was a pretty boring week, just one of those life days. I went out to lunch with my sister. I paid our taxes. So hopefully now we're all done with that. We've already gotten our federal refund, and I sent off our state payment. I like to send it off early enough just so that I know the check has been cashed prior to the deadline, just so I know I'm, where I'm supposed to be. So feeling good about that. I mailed off my daughter's passport for renewal to get that finished. Yeah, we'll see how long hers takes. The weather has been pretty crazy this week, I guess. It was 90 one day and then 30 degrees the next. So our walks have been kind of hit and miss this week because of the weather. It's almost 70 degrees today, and 2 days ago it was in the 40s. So I'm ready for it just to make up its mind. I don't care whether it's hot or cold, just be consistent, So we haven't had as many walks this week because of the weather. I still have not managed to get my framed diamond paintings hung up. I can't decide where I want to put them. I could hang them up in my daughter's old room, but I need to work out where the sun hits and where it doesn't, because I don't want them to be in direct sunlight. And then I was like, well, I could just take them and hang them, in different places in our basement, but that would mean I kind of need to look at what's already on the walls and take down things that I don't really want. I just haven't decided where things are going to go. Hopefully I will figure that out this week. We did have a bit of exciting news this week. We finally got fiber internet installed, which is kind of ironic for reasons I'll explain in a bit, but we lived in another town close to this one previously, and the big company for our state was not available for internet in that town. So we had kind of a small mom and pop internet provider. And it was great. They were great. Love them, love the service. But right before we decided to move here, they started installing fiber internet in that town. And I thought, oh man, we're going to miss it. And we did. We ended up missing it because we moved right as they started installing it. So we didn't even get a chance to get fiber in our old house before we moved. So when the same company said they were going to be expanding into our current town, we were like, oh, cool. Yes, let's sign up. It's cheaper. It's faster. It's just better. I don't particularly like our old internet service provider. I mean, they're just a big corporation, and yeah, you just get all the crap that goes along with it. You know, you get better rates if you're a new customer than you can get if you're an existing customer, even if you're someone who pays your bills on time. We were constantly fighting about the data caps and things like that because my youngest would have issues with his computer. And so his way of fixing things was to reset everything and then re-download everything from the internet. So he'd use 100 gig in a day. And I'm like, you've got to stop doing that. One, it isn't fixing your problem. And two, it's not necessary and you're eating up all of our data. We've since got all of those issues worked out, but I just have never really cared for our internet service provider. So we were happy to go with this one. So we now have fiber, and I've only uploaded one video with it, but it was so much faster. Like usually I have to set my computer not to go to sleep because it takes it so long to upload my videos. And I mean, we had decent internet. It wasn't terrible, but it just took forever. And my computer would sometimes go to sleep and I'd have to wake it up because then it made it take even longer. And so anyway, just some things that I got in the habit of doing. Well, this last video that I uploaded, even though it wasn't very long, I hadn't even finished filling out like my description box and all of that stuff before it was finished. So yeah, way faster, much happier with it. So that was exciting, just to get that and see that, you know, now we're going to be able to have good internet, which, you know, is not a deal breaker, but is always nice. You know, that's one of the things I told my husband when we move, that I want to be someplace that has good internet because of the YouTube channel and the things that I do with it, you know. And if we're going to have more than one, which we're still talking about, having like a lifestyle type blog where we talk about our move and how things are going and all that up there, then uploading and everything will be important. So we'll see. You know, you never know what's going to happen. It's always a challenge to figure out new things, right? Well, my husband and I figuring out, you know, what we want to do. There's still a lot going on. There's a little stowaway in here. There's a random red square in my white browns. That's funny. Anyway, my husband and I were talking. We're still waiting. And I'm starting to get very anxious, which is my default state a lot of times. So it's probably not that surprising, and I may be completely overthinking things, but we got a thing from Canada. And I think I told you this before, saying for us to send in pictures and copies of our passports. I'm assuming this is our last step before we get our permanent residency visa. However, the letter said that our passports had to be good for 6 months and mine wasn't. And I've gotten some information that I may be able to get an emergency passport renewal done. I'm going to be calling on Monday to find out if I do qualify for it, how that works, can I get it, where can I go, and what all does that entail for us. The closest place to us to go would be Dallas, but I don't know if, you know, that's going to be the place that has an opening for us, for me to come in. There's also one in Houston. There's one in El Paso. El Paso is kind of a long drive. Houston might be more doable. There's also one in Colorado, and there was one in Arkansas. And I didn't look up the times of all of those to see which one would be faster. I mean, it would be ideal if we could get Dallas. Dallas is only 6 hours away, but I don't really know how it works either. I know you go there and you can get your emergency passport, but I don't know, like, do they process it that day and then I get it mailed to me a couple days later? Do I leave with it? How does that all work? So I'm not sure of that part of it, and I don't know what their lead time is. Like, if I call Monday, can I get in that week? Do I have to wait until a couple of weeks? Like, what is my lead time? And the reason I'm getting concerned is I'm only getting 30 days from Canada per their letter. Now, it did say if we couldn't make that 30-day window to let them know. And we sent a little thing saying, you know, here's the issue. What do we do? Do I send in the old one knowing that it's not good for the 6 months they specified? Do I renew it and send in both copies? Do I just renew it and send in the renewal? What do they want me to do? And we've not heard anything back. Now, we got a thing from Canada saying we got your correspondence, but that they're experiencing a high volume of things, so it may take them longer than usual to respond. And then I realized that I think Friday and possibly Monday are holidays in Canada, which means nobody's doing any work on anything on those days. And I'm just, I'm a third of the way through my deadline here, and I'm like, I just would like an answer. And you know, again, I wish so much that you could just call and be like, here's the situation. What do we do? But you can't call from outside of Canada. So I don't know what we're going to do. I think I'm going to call and see if I can get an emergency renewal and what the lead time for that is. And if it's a long enough lead time, hopefully make an appointment. And then in the lead up to that appointment, hopefully hear something back from Canada about what we're supposed to do. And, you know, I've had several people, we asked in my husband's Facebook group, that think, you know, I'm worrying about nothing. My sister felt like I was worrying about nothing. She's like, just renew it and send them the new one. And I'm like, well, I can do that. But we had to send in copies of our passports when we applied. And my new passport will have a different number. I don't know if that makes any difference or not. But I don't want to have gotten to almost the end and then do something that screws it up. And I think my husband and my sister both think that I'm just being way too uptight about it and that it's not going to be a big deal. But I've worked so hard for this, filling out paperwork and making all these appointments and doing all of these things and, you know, deciding where we were going to go and what we needed to do, and just a lot of big things hanging over our head, or at least over mine. I don't think my husband's worried about it, and I am just kind of to the point where I said to my husband yesterday, you know what? We just need to decide. I mean, there's so many logistical things. What do we do with our house? What do we do with our cars? What are we taking? What are we not taking? Are we going to try and sell it all before we leave? Are we going to, you know, move via U-Haul? Are we going to do this, that, or the other? And I finally said, you know what? I think we just need to make a decision rather than saying, yes, we want to wait for Canada to issue our PR, but what do we want to do? Because the reality is that we could move now if we wanted to and let Canada know, hey, we're here, and everything would probably be fine. And so I said to my husband, you know, we just need to decide what we want to do. When do we want to go? Because he and I were talking about, you know, do we want to rent until we figure out where we want to buy? Do we want to try and buy right off the bat? And then there's all these questions about how does that work with our, you know, American credit, because we don't have any Canadian credit. He's not been there for, you know, he's lived here in the States for 10 plus years. And how does all that work? I finally said, you know, I don't think we're going to know the answers to some of these questions until we get up there. And I'm sure once we get up there, there'll be all kinds of things that we didn't even think about. For example, just as an analogy, you know, we were getting our new internet installed, talking about canceling our old one, and my husband says to me, oh, well, do we have any old emails with our old provider? And I thought, oh, it had never even occurred to me that once, you know, we didn't have that service anymore, that we wouldn't have access to those emails, which is fine. You know, it's no big deal to switch email addresses, but just was not something that I even thought about. And so I'm sure there's going to be things like that when we move that I'm going to be like, ooh, that never occurred to me. What are we going to do about this? And so I finally just said to my husband, you know, we just need to decide, the two of us, when do we want to go? You know, I know he's anxious to get up there and spend as much time with his dad as he can. And I mean, his dad's doing fine. It's not that his dad is worsening or anything, but he just wants to spend as much time as he can with them. And I completely understand that. So I said, we just need to figure out what we want to do. So, do we want to move as soon as we get the PR? Do we want to, wait? Because we don't want to try and move in the winter. I mean, moving here logistically would be difficult enough, but moving in Canada in the winter would be near impossible. I mean, it's not impossible. I'm sure people do it, but it's just not what we want to do. And so, thinking about, well, what does that look like? And, again, conversations about what are we going to do with our house? And are we keeping it and renting it out? Are we selling it? What are we doing? And, I finally just said, all things aside, PR application aside, house aside, what we're doing up there aside, jobs aside, when do you want to move? And he said, I'd like to move by the end of the summer. And I said, okay, so let's figure out, if that's the plan, what are the next steps? So we have emailed a realtor about coming to our house and, going over, having a look at it. What do they think it's, worth in this market? Because, we have our appraisals and we know what we bought it for, but we've lived here for 10 years. What is the market like now? What do they think we could list it for? What improvements would we need to make? What improvements could we make if we wanted to get top dollar out of it, so that we could decide, what we felt was worth spending money on and what wasn't. We have a third bathroom that we have never finished. And while, the house has suited us just fine without it, if it would make sense to finish that and it would bring us enough extra in the sale to be worth it, then we could look at doing that. But we just need to know that. So just lots of questions, that kind of thing. My daughter wants to move closer to her work. And so, working with her and helping her find a new apartment and get moved and all that kind of thing. And, just logistic things. She drives a car that is still, the title is in our name. We would need to get that changed before we go. What are we doing with our cars? Are we keeping them? Are we trading them in for something else? What does that look like? Just lots of questions. And then I said to my husband, okay, so we just got fiber internet and we're going to live here for like 4 months and then we're going to move. And he and I had been joking that that's what would happen when we decided to get it, because that's what happened to us last time. And now here we are. It's a little more scary now because it feels a little bit more real now that we've said that. And whether that actually happens or not, at least it's a goal to work towards. It's some motivation for me to start, going through the house, really kind of trying to pare down things. I'd already been thinking about that. We have, I don't know what you guys have, but here in the town where we live, they use like the end of school, the beginning of summer to kind of do a lot of local cleanup things. So for instance, they have a leaf and limb pickup day where you can, trim your trees, rake up the leaves from the winter, whatever, and the city will come around and pick them up so that you don't have to take them to the burn site, because we can't put those kinds of things in our regular trash. Then they have the next weekend, after they do the pickup, they have citywide garage sales, and everybody, will have a big garage sale and have sales to get rid of all that stuff that you don't want, because everyone in the city's doing it. You get a lot more traffic because people know that, everyone in the city is doing it. So you'll get people from surrounding towns who drive in. And so you just get a lot more traffic than you would normally just having one on a random weekend or whatever. I was actually talking to my sister about that when we went out to lunch, that she's planning on having one for their citywide garage sale. And if we wanted to bring some stuff over and put in hers. So we may do that. We may have one of our own. I don't know yet. But it's an incentive for me to kind of get on the ball and figure out, what do I want to keep? What do I want to give away? What are we taking with us? Because, there's part of me that's like, do we want to just not take anything and just get what we need while we're up there? We're planning on living in a much smaller house. But then there's that part of me that's like, I don't want to buy everything all over again. I mean, there are certain things that we're going to have to get For instance, we cannot take mattresses into Canada. You can't bring a mattress into Canada. So we can bring our bed frame, but we can't bring our mattresses. You know, there's rules about importing your cars and things like that. So we'll just have to see, you know, what that's going to look like. But I do at least need to really start making some headway into cleaning out things so that we know what we're taking and what we are not, because we've lived here for 10 years. I mean, I'm sure we have stuff packed away that I've completely forgotten about and that decisions are going to have to be made about. So it is nice to have kind of a date, just to, you know, have a deadline to kind of spur you on, because, and I guess that's just part of my personality, I work well under pressure, and sometimes I have to be pressured to get things done. You know, when it's a loose, open-ended deadline, it's like, well, I'm, you know, in my head, I have plenty of time to work on that, or, you know, what's going to happen if I don't get it done, which is why currently nothing has been sorted through in my house, because it's just kind of been this open-ended deadline for so long that I've just kept putting it off and off and off. And now that we've talked about it and we have sort of an actual deadline, I'm like, ooh, I need to get busy. So we did do a couple of the steps already. Like I said, we've already emailed a realtor and kind of explained the situation and would like somebody to come by the house and give us some information and figure out where we go from here. Hopefully that will also give me some things to focus on so that I'm not sitting around just stewing about why I haven't heard anything from Canada. You know, I told my husband, I may be worrying about nothing, and I totally get that, but I don't have the ability to just turn it off. Gosh, I think there's a lot of us who would be absolutely thrilled if that was how it worked. You know, if there was just a little switch that we could flip and be like, hey, don't worry about this. That isn't how it works. And so, you know, the reality is I am going to worry about it until we hear back and I know what I need to do. But I said, you know, in the meantime, I want to make a plan. Even if, you know, knowing that that plan is not set in stone and that it needs to change, at least I have a plan. Hence my decision to call on Monday and find out what I need to do if I qualify for an emergency renewal, and then, you know, go from there. But yeah, I just need to have a plan and something else to focus on. So I feel like that's good, and it's going to kind of spur me on to get some things done. Even if we, you know, change our minds down the road and decide, oh, we don't need to move quite as soon as we thought, or something happens and we decide, oh, you know what, it would actually be better if we put it off. We'll just have to see. So that's what's going on in my regular life. And like I told my husband, yeah, after we just got fiber internet and we're going to get so used to it, wherever we move definitely has to have fiber, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back. I mean, I say that. Of course I could if we had to, but you guys, I got to say, one, this is, I think, well, it is the newest Diamond Art Club release that I've purchased in some time. I am loving how super sparkly these new drills are. Even the black, just the play of the light. And super happy that they got rid of the white circles behind everything. My drill placement is still not perfect, as I'm sure you can see. But not having those bright white guide circles makes a huge difference in the way it looks, I think. So I think that's everything I wanted to tell you guys about my regular life. Okay, so moving on to my diamond painting life. And actually this week it's been fairly straightforward. I did finish the second mermaid that I was working on, Patience from Dreamer Designs. And I will be sharing the finish of that with you guys soon. Once I get that filmed, I think it turned out really well. I wasn't sure I had made the right decision about working on that one instead of jumping into the Dakota-thon, but I made the decision that I really wanted to get that one done, and I'm actually really happy with it. I think it turned out really well. Just happy that I made that decision. So that kit is finished, and then I decided that before I jumped into another big kit, I was going to go ahead and do these two small ones from Diamond Art Club, the Daffy and the Marvin. And actually, when I bought the Daffy Duck, I hadn't actually intended to do it. I figured that I would be gifting it on to someone else, or it would just kind of hang around in my stash for a while until I got to it. But I'm actually really enjoying it. It is a lot of color blocking. So if you don't enjoy color blocking, obviously would not be, you know, these cartoony ones would not be good for you. But I'm enjoying it. I've been working on some other projects. long-term video projects. So I'm excited to say that, you know, I'm done with some of those finally, and I'll be getting to share those with you soon. I like doing some of these projects, but the problem is they just take so long that, you know, I can't, I mean, I guess I could put out a, you know, one video every couple of months or whatever it takes me to finish a project, but I like to do more things than that, and I usually have more things on the go. I'm still feeling a little bit guilty that I haven't spent any time working on my Heaven and Earth designs. That is a WIP. I'm debating internally with myself whether I want to spend some time working on that before I jump into a new project. Once I finish the Marvin and this one and the Marvin, those are definite. I'm going to be doing those. I hopefully will finish this one in the next couple of days, if not sooner. And then I can do the Marvin, and it should take, you know, roughly the same amount of time, which won't be very long. And then I can move on to another project. I don't know if I'm going to do the Dakota Detweiler or if I'm going to wait and just, I'm thinking I'm going to jump early into the Mandy Manzano event. It doesn't actually start until May, but the one that I have is kind of large. And so I'm thinking I might just jump into it early so that I can get that one done. And I want to work on that one, but we'll see. I'm really trying to focus this year on what things I want to work on, and not what things I feel like I should work on, which is probably why I haven't done anything on the Heaven and Earth designs, because I feel like I should work on it, but I don't want to yet. It's a square. I am admittedly leaning more towards rounds lately just because they go faster, and I have a lot of round kits that I would like to get done. But I guess I need to do some squares. I think I just wasn't ready to do squares again because the Patience was a square. But maybe after I get this one and the Marvin under my belt, then I'll be ready to move back to a square, and maybe I'll do a little bit on it. I don't think I'll get it done just because it's such a big diamond painting. But even if I just made some progress on it, that would make me feel better. So we'll see, you know, how busy I am with other life things going on versus, you know, getting some diamond painting done on that, whether I feel guilty enough to work on the Heaven and Earth or whether I concentrate on other things. We'll see. But yeah, I've been spending a lot more of my focus this year has been what do I want to work on? Because like I said, this particular kit, even though I purchased it, was not something that I purchased thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to work on this one. It was one that I purchased thinking, well, I want to get free shipping, so I'll get this one. If I don't get to it, then it's, you know, something cute and fun that I could pass on to someone else for either them to complete or, you know, whatever. Yeah, like I said, I initially had a bit of buyer's remorse about getting it, but I'm actually really enjoying it, so it's all good. I'm practicing my multi-placing, and I'm enjoying the new drills, and I'm enjoying the subject matter. So yeah, it's all good. What else is going on? Guys, the YouTube channel. I mean, I feel like I'm successful, and I guess that's all that matters, right? How I feel. I have a good number of subscribers. I'm working on getting more views because I don't get as many views as I wish I had. Said every YouTuber ever, probably. So I'm working on, you know, ideas and things that I can do to get better at that. But I feel like the goalposts constantly move. I've been seeing all over YouTube, all these YouTubers saying that they've changed the algorithm, and now how many subs you have, how many subscribers you have doesn't even matter. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's true, then what does matter? Like, what am I aiming for here? You know? And I feel like you get left in the dark as a creator so many times. These goalposts are just constantly moving and you can't keep up. So, you know, I don't know what that means for me. I've got some research to do, obviously, because of course, none of these companies want to come out and tell you what their algorithm is, because then you could take advantage of it. And while I understand that, if there weren't any creators, it is a symbiotic relationship, right? If there weren't any creators, there wouldn't be any YouTube, right? Yeah, it just feels like they're constantly moving the goalposts. Like I said, you know, I think I get a handle on things and I know what I'm doing, and then everything suddenly changes and you've got to figure it all out all over again. I mean, again, I like to think that I'm pretty tech savvy, but I am by no means. I don't know how to code. I don't read tech magazines, that kind of stuff. It just feels like I said, you kind of get a little bit left out in the lurch. I am, like I said, having a lot of fun working on this one. I'm actually, when I started this one in particular, when I realized that his entire beak was AB drills, I thought, oof, I don't know if that's going a bit overboard. Is that going to be too many ABs to have his entire beak made of ABs? But once I started putting the drills down and then kind of step back and look at it, I actually think it looks really good. It's a little finicky to work with ABs versus working with regular drills, but I do think it looks good. So I'm happy with it for that reason. I'm curious to see how Marvin is going to turn out and what that's going to look like. I don't think it actually has quite as many ABs as Daffy Duck has. His helmet, I think, is it his helmet? I think it's his helmet that has ABs is the only thing on Marvin, but I'm actually really liking how it's turning out so far, even if the drills are a bit finicky to work with. So it's all good. Like I said, I didn't really have intentions of working on this one. And then once I unboxed them and kind of saw how small they were, I thought, you know what? These will be some kits that I can complete in just a couple of days. Is that one not an AB? I think I've spot a couple that are really not ABs that I need to go back in and pick out that are not, don't have the coating on them. And I have gone back in, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't because I'm so zoomed in, but I have gone back and put in the background, I'm just dotting in some purple rhinestones just to give it a little extra something in the background purple color. And I actually like the way that it's turning out, so I'm happy with it. That's something too that I've tried to do this year is, I think last year and the year before, you know, I would have been really hesitant. Oh, do I want to put that in? I don't want to mess up the diamond painting. And this year I'm just kind of more go with the flow. I don't know if this is going to look good or not. If it does, great. If it doesn't, is it the end of the world? Nope. Yeah, I just think overall I'm having a lot more fun with it this year, which is good because that was kind of my theme for this year, was that I wanted to have more fun with things instead of being so focused on I need to do this, I need to do that, because it should be fun. And I think that comes through in the videos, whether I intend for it to or not. You know, I was getting kind of burnt out at the end of last year. Trying to do too many things, and it showed. And this year, yeah, I'm just trying to be much more relaxed and zen about everything, because at the end of the day, as long as I'm enjoying myself, that's what counts, right? Like I said the same thing to a lot of people who had comments about my stash video. And you guys, I think this says something about my state of mind. I did not even realize that I had made a stash video earlier this year. I guess I made one in January. When I was uploading the one that I just did this last week, I realized, oh, I guess part of the reason I didn't realize I had made one was because I typically, at least I did last year, I kept notes on totals so that I could compare from one, you know, time to the next where I was at and if my stash had gone up or down, and I couldn't find any notes like that. And so I thought, well, I must not have done one, but apparently I did, and I just either didn't write it down or lost the note where I wrote it down or something. So I'm fairly certain, even without my notes, that my stash number went up, because I think I was down in the 50s and it's now in the 70s, but I'm going to tell myself that that's okay. Someone pointed out in the comments that, you know, they're going to retire soon. They're just building up their collection so they have stuff to do when they're retired, which is awesome. I think that's terrific. And since I've decided I'm just going to tell people I'm retired anyway, I should start doing that too. My focus this year, like I said, has been on my enjoyment, because I figure my enjoyment will hopefully be contagious. And if I'm enjoying myself and other people see me enjoying myself, then that will lead them to enjoy themselves. I'm not sure that's how it works, but I'm going to hope that's how it works. Didn't get as much done as I had thought I would, but that's okay. Like I said, it ends up being a lot of multi-placing because it's so much color blocking, just so I can get that line done. I need to go back, like I said, this one right here, and then there's a couple over in his beak that you can't currently see that I need to pull out because they don't have the AB coatings, and they should. I mean, it probably doesn't look bad to leave them in. I think I'll go back and pull them out. We'll see. Maybe I'll finish his beak and then I'll see what I think. I'm going to zoom out a bit here. I'm going to call that good for today. So I've got his eyes done, which is awesome. I actually, when I got this one, thought, oh goodness, this is going to be way too much black for me, but it really isn't. Actually, there's more purple than anything else because the purple is the background color. There's actually not nearly as much black as I thought. And the only white is his eyes and then the little band around his neck. Yeah, I think this was 9 colors, so not a huge amount of colors. Lots of color blocking, like I said, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really going to enjoy the Marvin. That's why I decided to start with Daffy Duck, because I knew I would enjoy the Marvin. And I thought, well, they're small enough. This will let me get another finish in this month. It'll be more hours for my diamond painting goals, and just a kind of win-win all the way around. So yeah, I'm super happy that I'm working on him. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. I know today was a bit of a ramble and I was a bit all over the place, but I just have a lot on my mind. Anybody who has any comments or thinks that you have helpful information, please, leave me a comment down below. If you don't want to leave it in a comment, you are certainly welcome to email me. I appreciate any and all help, even if it's just that you want to tell me to keep hanging on. Those kind of thoughts are appreciated as well. I know I am a bit anxious sometimes, and I often start out my conversations with my husband about, I'll say, okay, I know this is just me being crazy, but I just have a need to talk it out. So, again, also thank you to you guys who are subscribers, because sometimes, in addition to my diamond painting, this conversation that I get to have with you is also a bit of my therapy. So thanks for that. Before you leave, guys, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.